Good morning and welcome to my latest live match. This is a Saturday open match at Heronbrook fisheries. There's match pool and meadow pools are the pools used, and I've ended up drawing. I've had lasting bag. I've ended up having match pool 4. Now there's 6 on this lake, so that'll end up being a section, and so that means there's 4 end pegs on here. I'm not one of them. I'll show you the peg. So there you go. It looks nice enough. It's got some stockers in this pool. It's got some decent carping as well, I've heard. So on the end peg, I've got Craig O'Connor. Give us a wave, Craig. Every time I come here and see him, he's either on an end or a bend. Unreal. And then to my left on peg 7, give us a wave, Matt. Matty Barwell. Pratty Barwell, as people know him. Love him to bits, I do. Should catch some fish, but I don't think I'm going to compete. But sun's out, start the tan off again. We'll see how it goes. Right, so there's lots of stockers in this pool, and you usually have a good start on them. Fishing tight to the far bank with micros and expander. It only lasts for an hour or so, and then it starts getting a little bit harder. Unless you're on one of the ends, I suppose, and you can keep them coming for a little bit longer. So that's what makes the end pegs on here better. So I'm shipping over with, it's a carp shallow in 0.4 with the bulk all down just above the hook length. Like I say, I'm using an expander hook bait, which is a 4mm Pro expander. I'm filling the small cad pot full of micros just to give the peg a kickstart. It took me 2 or 3 feeds to get the fish into the peg, but once they come, you have a good run of them. And as you can see from that one, they're very small, some of them. And later on in the match, I catch them even smaller. But he's had a recent stocking over winter and put a few extras in. And there's also some carp gone in there. So hopefully I'll get some of them mixed in amongst them. Now it's quite deep over. It's nigh on 2 foot deep where I'm fishing. I think it's 22 inches, something like that. So a couple of inches short of 2 feet. And at times that can be a bit too deep. So I've got a backup line, which is to my left. It's a little bit further away, which is about a float length shallower. So about 4 inches shallower than that. So about 18 inches deep, which can still be quite deep, but that's it. We'll see how it goes. Now, on that line, I'm planning on fishing groundbait and maggots. So I'll just feed match method mix in a medium cad pot and put maggots on the hook. But I always start on the micros and expander. I've also set up a pinging rig to fish hard pellets, and if all else fails, I'll start doing that. So after a couple of 3 fish on the expander line, I thought I'll try the groundbait line and see if that's any quicker. So I've loaded 2 maggots on the hook and then filled up the cad pot. I'm just going to dump the groundbait in and fish a rig over the top of it. And within a minute or so, I'm into a fish. And it seems I'm a slightly better stamp on the maggot and groundbait. So I'll keep plodding on this for a bit. Matty Barwell to my left has actually started dobbing bread, and within the first 15 minutes he got 2 decent carp, so I'm already playing catch up with him. I never gave that a thought, to be fair, just dobbing. I hadn't got any bread with me anyway, it just never came into my head, to be honest. But he's had a good start with a couple of carp. Craig O'Connor on the other end on peg 1, he's having a stockier chuck, but them tiny, very small. So I'll just keep doing this for a bit and see how we go. Drop a cad pot at ground bait in and put the maggots in amongst it. It's not brilliant, it's not fast, but I'm putting a few fish in the net. The bites on this line are slower, but the fish are definitely a bit bigger, so it's worth sticking with them for a bit. Other plans for the peg are meat down the middle. Every time I'm ship out, I'm throwing 3 or 4 pieces of meat in, and hopefully I can build a line there. And I'm planning on doing a similar kind of thing down the edge as to what I'm doing over, fishing ground bait over maggots. But I'm going to feed it slightly different. I've got the medium cup on my cupping kit. I'm going to feed a medium pot of ground bait to hopefully attract some carp into the peg, but that's for much later in the match. At the moment, I'm just throwing a few hard 4mm pellets down to a little bit of a weed bed to my left, just to see if I can see any signs of fish coming in, to give me a kind of an indication as to how early I can get on that edge line. But I'll just keep on doing this for now. If this dries up, I'll go back onto the pellets. After an initial run of half decent fish on the ground bait line, it faded to nothing. So I've gone back over on the pellet to see if I can get that line going again. So again, it's a couple of feeds in before I get an indication. Then I'll start catching again. Luckily, this one's a carp, so there are odd carp about. It's not massive, but it's bigger than the F1s I've been catching. If I can keep a few of these coming, it'd be nice. I was tempted to use Duraslip 9 on all my rigs on this peg, but I had a quick chat with Adam Rumble before the match. He was on that pool a few days previous on a fish show qualifier, and he said some of the carp are massive, so I wouldn't entertain 9s. So I swapped all my rigs over, because I had already got them all set up on 9 Duraslips. So just before the match started, I switched them over to 11 Duraslips. And the best combination I found on this line was to put a few micros in a pot and a bit of groundbait, and then carry on fishing a 4mm pellet. That seemed to get me a bite a bit quicker. Again, I'm throwing meat out my hand every time I'm shipping out. I felt I was way behind the pegs either side of me. They were catching so much more consistently than me. But that was to be expected with them being M pegs, I suppose. But I'm still having an enjoyable day. I'm catching fish. And this line got quite good for a while, especially after I started putting a bit of ground bait in with the micros. And you can see that some of the fish are really small. I catch them even smaller than that at times. But the sun's out, getting some bites, so happy days. And there were some odd better stamp fish mixed in amongst them.
That one, Matt.
See what I mean about how small some of them were? You go from catching an half decent one to catching a tiny one like this. We're about an hour and a half into the match now, and I've been feeding the short line for quite a while, so I thought I'd give it a quick look, see if there's anything turned up on it. First drop in, I've had an F1. Again, it isn't massive, but I'd rather catch them here than shipping all the way across if I can. Be a bit quicker. It wasn't brilliant down the middle, but there was definitely some fish about. It was worth putting a bit of time in on it to see if I could get it going. As you can see, there's still some small ones on this line as well. But like I say, I'd rather ship two sections out than all the way across. Had two fish there, but it never got going, so back over. The peg's starting to fade now as well. I mean, the F1s I'm catching over are tiny. That's stocky. Proper little stockies. But then you'll have a better fish. Still feeding micros with a little bit of ground baiting and then fishing a 4mm expander. Notice how I threw the landing net in the edge there. He's got platforms on all the pegs at Heronbrook now, and we all know what fish like to do occasionally is try and get under them platforms. This one did exactly that. It was a little carp, and what they try and do is try and get under your platform. So by stabbing your landing net in the water in front of them, you can usually spook them, which turns them away from their platform. But you've got to be wary that you're not going to hit the fish with a net, and you've got to try and make sure you get it in front of the fish. It's not stabbing at it to net it, it's stabbing at it to spook it away from the platform. It does usually work. We're about 3 hours into the match now, and the peg's starting to fade. I'm struggling for bites anywhere, so I'm going to put some ground baiting down the right hand edge, which is around about 18 inches deep. I'm going to put a few pots of ground bait down there and see if I can tempt anything to come in down the edge, hopefully to catch some carp there. So I've fed some ground bait there. I'm just going to keep my eye on it and see if it colours up at all. And I go back over and I carry on catching these tiny little stockies just to put something in the net. I'm falling behind. I'm way behind Matty on the end. He had a good start on the bread dobbing. He's carried on catching the odd carp in amongst his F1s on meat over micros. All I can hope is that he's going to end up framing. I doubt it very much because it's in with Meadow, and I've got a feeling that Meadow will take all the main list prizes and Matty will win the section. So, although it's over, I'm just going to carry on having a decent day's fishing. I'm enjoying it. Switching between the groundbait line and the micro line, I'm keeping a few fish coming. Some of them are tiny, but some of them are half decent. So I'll just keep going at it. And just hope that my edges pick up later on. I've been watching that groundbait down to my right that I put in, and I've not seen a sign of a fish come to it. So the left hand line, I'm going to do something different. Even though I'm way behind, I'm enjoying it. I'm putting some fish in the net. That's what it's all about, I suppose. Like I say, some of them are half decent, and some of them, but mostly tiny. That's the goldest F1 I've ever seen. Looked like a bar of gold, it did. Stunning fish. Back down the middle. I'd give it a rest for a while. I've kept on feeding it. Back down the middle and have a look, see if I can make something happen there. Half decent F1. Using a 4x14 F1 maggot on this line with a strung gauge shotting pattern and a size 16 SFLB to O12s. And although it's not solid a fish, there's definitely some fish there to be caught. And this is a carp, this one. Happy days. Be nice to catch a few of these here. It's not a massive fish, but it counts as a few stockies, that will. Because I'm only getting the odd bite down the middle, I decided to start sprinkling a few micros over the top of it to see if I can pull any more fish into the peg. So I'm still throwing meat out my hand, and I'm putting about 15-20 micros in through the pot, right directly over the top of where I'm fishing, to see if I can attract some more fish into the peg. This works a treat, to be fair, because it does definitely pull some more fish in. The next fish is another carp. And I definitely need a few carp to catch Matty up, because at the moment he's out of sight. Craig on peg one isn't catching so many now, so hopefully I'll catch him and overtake him. Half decent fish, this one. Still watching that edge to see if that ground bait pulls anything in, and I haven't seen a sign down there. Sprinkling those pellets in has definitely done something to the peg. It's definitely attracted some more fish in. Here's another decent fish. Yet another carp. Happy days. Definitely reeling Matty in a bit. But like I say, he was miles in front. So if I can just pull back a bit of pride.
Don't say that. I hate it when people say that. I hate it when people say that. I don't go in and don't get a bite next chuck. Like last time I've had two carp in two chucks again.
That right hand edge never produced anything all day. So for the left hand edge, I decided because the micros and meat had worked so well down the middle on the short line, I thought I'd try the same down the edge to my left, 11 metres away. It's not a brilliant edge, it's quite slopey. It's very shallow in places, and the only place I could find a little bit of depth, it was on a slope, a gradual slope. So I've used a 4x10 F1 maggot and I've strung the shot out so as I can feed the peg and then lay the rig into the slope. After an initial feed of probably 10 pieces of meat and, I don't know, 50 micros, I've gone on it, and first drop in I've had a carp, and now I'm catching on the short lines and down this left hand edge. I shan't bother going back over the pool now. First drop down the edge on the left hand side, nice little carp.
The little thing. Hey? What he'll do. That's one of them to the end flappers.
4 or 5 pieces of meat, little sprinkle of, I felt I put too many micros in there, so I took a few back out. I'm only putting a sprinkle of micros in, just enough to attract one fish. So I'm dropping the feed in, picking the rig in, picking the rig up, swinging it out so as it falls into that slope, and the next bite's off a right munter. Lovely fish this one is. Keeping the meat going in on the short line, but as long as I'm getting bites down the edge, I'm not going anywhere else. Now look, stabbing my net in again to stop him going for the pallet. Turned him round nicely. It's a real big fish, this one. Lovely. Definite double figure fish, this one. It still wasn't quite finished with luck. I'm glad Rumble advised me to fish an 11 elastic and not that 9, so it took me forever to get that one in on the slip 9. Bit dodgy that was. I thought he was going to flip out the landing net. Yeah, it's a bit worried then.
Oh, he's a big one, Matty.
Right, so I've changed the camera angle now so I can see a bit better along that edge. I know my roost's in the way with all my top kits, but I didn't want to risk taking the camera around that way and spooking anything away, because the peg was definitely getting better and better as we were getting towards the end. It's probably about half a metre away from the bank where I'm fishing, because it shallows up to absolutely nothing. But there, where that shelf is, and it's the perfect depth. It's obvious it's the perfect depth because I'm getting a bite every putting. I'm not getting any liners. Every bite is a clean hook fish, no foul hookers or anything. It's just great fishing. Felt like felt like I got it so right that last hour.
Hey? Oh God, here we go again. Another one will be on in a sec. She's got enough anyway.
Same again, another 5 or 6
Got
pieces of
enough
meat,
anyway.
topping it off with a few micros.
Lad at the pool.
And they have a brilliant last hour's fishing. More than makes up for the slow first few hours. Fishing against that slab was just lovely. They were lovely clean bites. Hardly missed a bite. I probably missed 2 bites the whole time I fished it. Never fair looked a single fish. It was just lovely fishing. It was a great last hour. And almost every fish was a carp. Not all big uns. I was only that one big one, but I've had a few decent ones. Did manage a few F1s mixed in amongst them as well, and they tend to be a bigger stamp as well. But it was definitely more carp than anything else. Dropping them into the peg and then laying the rig in behind it, making sure that the rig's away from the slab coming into it. and bang, another fish. Proper having it down the edge now.
£1 on it. We're doing £1 on it then. I've already got a fiver, I'm losing the damn no way.
I keep having a look to my right and I can still see no signs of fish over the ground bait on the right hand edge. So I don't even entertain going on it again. Especially when I'm catching like this on the left hand edge. So that one tried to go under the pallet again. Just chuck your landing net in there, it stops them, turns them around and gets them away from me. If you don't do anything about it, that fish will go under that pallet. And you're risking all sorts of problems then.
Hey? What is? You'll be doing my heading all day.
Matty said to me, Matty shouted down to me, "You're doing my heading." And I shouted back, "You've been doing my heading all day." And this is my last fish of the day. Another carp. The whistle blew while I was playing this fish.
Fish on.
Great end to the match. It was hard early doors. It was a great last hour to the match. I must have put over £50 in the net in that last hour, all from that one line down the edge. It's another one having a look to try and get down the pallet. Put the net in, turns him round. It's a decent fish. I'm not going to rush him. You've got so much time after the match anyway to get a fish in. But I don't want to take too long because Dean's already at the pool with the scales ready to do the weighing in. Another nice carp. Nice fish to end the match on.
Wish that had turned up a bit earlier. Oh, lovely last day, man.
But when the scales come, Craig on the end peg had weighed
Stocking on for a bit
£47. Those fish he was catching must have been very small. And to be fair, he hasn't caught a lot the last couple of hours. It's had slowed right down for him. There's me reminding Dean that he's on camera and not to swear. Because I'm the one who's going to do all the editing to bleep it all the bad language out.
Oh, fucking hell.
My first net weighed £33. And I couldn't remember which net I got the big carp in. I wanted to weigh that one last, that net last, because I wanted him in the picture when I did the catch shot. He ended up being in that net, so I dropped that net down and weighed that one last. So the middle net, that one weighed £29 and some ounces. Dean, the owner of the venue, has spent a lot of money over this winter. He's put pallets on all the pegs, put the peg numbers on all of them as well. He's put loads of fish in the venue. He's doing lots and lots of work there. And the bloke is keen to make it a success, and he's doing a fabulous job. An absolutely fabulous job. Fair play to the guy. I hope it all works out for him.
Good job you got it to burn, eh, kid?
And my third net went £39, which left me a total of £101 and 9 ounces, which I was more than happy with, to be fair. It was a bit of a slow start to the match, but it picked up. I mean, that last hour was phenomenal, and it ended up being a great day's fishing. I knew it wasn't going to be enough to catch Mattle. Although he reckoned he'd only got £70, I knew he got a lot more than that. Matty Barwell went on to weigh £125, which never made the frame, which I didn't expect it to. I think he finished perhaps fifth in the match with that, and that was just enough to win the section. So fair play, well done, Matt. I ended up about 8th in the match, something like that. Never picked up any money, but I had a lovely day's fishing. So happy days. If you enjoyed watching that and you'd like to see more, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.